Last week, a Fortune 500 company announced that an unencrypted S3 bucket was breached, leaking over 4 million encrypted login credentials. It alerted the affected users about a week later after discovering the breach and urged them to change their passwords. Okay, that didn't actually happen, but I imagine you didn't even bat an eye when I said it. Leaks of personal information, logins, and passwords haven't just become commonplace, they become expected at this point. While the example we stated off at the start of this video didn't actually happen, there's a decent chance that something like it will happen before this video actually gets posted. And it's not just the frequency that's numbing, it's the number of people affected. These breaches have major security implications. So with leaked passwords seemingly an eventuality, the question becomes, why are we still using them? Looking at the breaches collected by Have I Been Pwned, the top 10 most recent datasets added range from 582,000 Foodora accounts all the way up to 68 million leaked from Lead Hunter. And that's nothing compared to the largest breaches in its collection. The three largest all include over 700 million accounts each. Overall, the breach notification service from Troy Hunt has seen over 9.7 billion accounts get leaked. Now, to be clear, leaks like these are squarely the fault of the company storing that information. Far too often, these come from shockingly bad IT practices, like leaving cloud storage online and unencrypted, or not patching systems in anywhere close to a timely manner, or just not salting your hashes. These kind of things are just waiting to be noticed by people who will exploit them. The one interesting part of these password dumps is they do provide some visibility into what passwords people are using. A Turkish computer engineering student actually did an analysis of recent password dumps and dug into the numbers. Looking at over 168 million unique passwords, his analysis found that the most common password was not actually ABC123. It was 123456. One out of every 142 passwords used that, and it was the most common password in the dataset for each of the past 5 years. Overall, the analysis found that the most common 1,000 passwords covered 6.6% of all passwords. So clearly generating passwords remains an issue for people. Overall, the passwords were not overly complex either, averaging 9.48 characters per password, with only 12% using a special character. Back in 2018, Troy Hunt himself had similarly exasperated findings. He was looking at a breach of 2.3 million plaintext passwords from CacheCrate and found that 86% of those, almost 2 million, were using passwords already leaked in other data breaches. Some of these included things like 123456, password, and the ever-creative QWERTY. But perhaps most interesting were passwords that looked to be fairly unique, longer ones with lots of numbers and special characters, that were also found in previous data breaches. Hunt's takeaways of this were twofold. One, it's incredible that services that have been breached and revealed their terrible password policies still let users set up the same incredibly weak passwords. Two, that having a good password or passphrase doesn't mean a whole lot if it's not unique. Sharing that password between sites just increases your chances of having it leaked. Most of the issues with passwords come down to the old trade-off of security and convenience. I think most people can realize that using a completely random string of like 40 or more characters for each different online service is the best way to stay secure, or at least a better way, but it's also supremely inconvenient. So even relatively savvy users make little bargains with themselves, like reusing passwords they think are secure or coming up with little formulas to create memorable passwords or modify an existing one. The problem is, this is still limited by human memory and easy to predict, which can be quite bad. So the alternative is the password manager, right? You don't know any of your passwords for individual services other than the one used for the password manager. Or maybe it's something like two-factor authentication, so that when your password is inevitably leaked, it's not an immediate gateway to the rest of your identity. Or maybe it's biometrics, something you just can't physically forget or choose to be lazy about. Password managers are a great way to make the best out of a flawed system. Ultimately, though, it still puts a single point of failure out there which grants far too much access with one piece of information. Two-factor authentication is a good start, but often sacrifices security for convenience as well, depending on flawed security of things like SMS for a second factor. Multi-factor authentication is really the only way to think about security going forward. Instead of relying on one or two different signals to authenticate a user, A passwordless system will probably work similar to the way organizations look at behavioral analytics to detect insider threats. We're seeing more advanced authentication from major tech companies for a while now, taking cues from what financial institutions have been doing for years. Make one random purchase out of state, and you'll hopefully get a call from your bank to confirm it was you. Similarly, log into a Google account from a different machine and IP address, and you'll probably get an email asking to confirm your identity. These are all good steps, but still feel very ad hoc. Just as microsegmentation has changed how we think about network security, we need to apply that logic to our online presences. Most networks have given up on the perimeter-only defense of a network and are now focused on limiting and monitoring east-west traffic, providing as little vulnerability and many stages for detection. Zero trust is kind of the name of the game now. If we can extend that mindset to how we secure services to consumers using a variety of signals that are continually monitored and authenticated, we'll be in a much better security state without putting an undue burden on things like people's memories. With that kind of system, having a single factor leak won't be nearly as harmful. And hopefully the question really will be, have I been pwned, rather than when have I been pwned, which we're living with right now. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Checksum. We have new episodes out every week, so be sure to like this video and subscribe to the Gestalt IT YouTube channel to get them in your feed. And let us know, do passwords have a future in security, or are we going all multi-factor? Let us know in the comments. Can't wait to hear from you.